All right, everybody, welcome back to the Backcourt Brews and Sports Podcast. My name is Jason Levy, and I'm here with
George Estrada, and we got
Drew Jenkins.
And George, we have a very special guest. You want to introduce your guest?
We have the beautiful, kind, and very intelligent vocal star, Michelle Forrester. She is a legend in the brewery world. Can you give us a little brief background, Michelle? Who are you and why are you here?
I think legend might be a strong term, George, but I think you could easily use the term legend in the coming years because I'm just building my legendary status as I go along. I am currently the executive director of the Wyoming Craft Brewers Guild. I'm also the executive director of the Wyoming Distillers Guild. And I've been at the Brewers Guild job this has been my third year. So my second year on the job was one of the worst years, actually probably the worst years on record for the entire industry. It's a heck of a welcoming party. But I'll just give you a quick synopsis. The Craft Brewers Guild is a nonprofit trade organization that protects and promotes the interests of the craft brewing industry in the state of Wyoming. There's a guild in every state. Some states have more than one. And that's our job, is to protect our breweries and make sure they can keep making great beer.
So we need you. You are very important to us.
That is what I generally say, yes.
Absolutely. So we love to start our segment off, right, Jason? What do we love to start off with every time we start this segment?
Well, when we do a podcast, we can't do the podcast without drinking a beer. So we always start off with what beer we're drinking. And I'm going to start off with the Pizza Port Chronic Ale. Anybody knows San Diego beer scene, everybody knows about Pizza Port, and their number one beer is the Chronic Ale. It's an amber ale, 4.9 ABV, super rich in flavor, really, really nice beer to just chill on. So that's what I'm chilling on tonight while we're doing this podcast.
Awesome. What about you, Drew? What are you drinking today?
Well, today I'm drinking a coffee out of my Dodgers World Series mug, but I wanted to feature a beer from a local brewery over in Chino, California called I&I Brewing. It's the Raspberry Black Wheat. It's a 6.9 ABV, so it's right up my alley. And it's a nice dark colored beer. It has a nice little hint of raspberry at the end, so it's nice and refreshing.
Ooh, fantastic. What about you, Michelle? What are you drinking tonight?
I have cracked open one of the last Blacktooth Pilsners that I have, and I've nestled it in a Wind River Brewing Company cozy so that I can represent as many breweries as I can at a time.
The GPP, nice. Super easy to drink. It's an old German Pilsner, but with new hops. And for me, I have, that sounded great. I have a Super Guard all the way from Redlands, California. My friend, Mr. Wilson, brewed this. I'm going to get some smells. Well, this is not as fresh as the other ones.
Just go with it.
Hold on, let's see. Oh, it tastes just, oh my god. Oh. And this is actually 8.7 on the ABV. Oh. Yeah.
So we're going to get a different George in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yay, beer.
Fantastic.
The George I like.
Michelle, I want to ask you, have you ever hung out with George at the brewery? Like, have you ever had some beers with George?
A few times, yes. Actually, quite a few times.
So you know that there's like regular George, and then there's George after he starts having a few beers. Two different people. Yeah, but he gets a little friendlier, which is okay, But you could definitely see a difference.
That's what's astonishing is George gets friendlier, which is hard to imagine. He's everybody's friend all the time, no matter where he is in the world. And if you put a couple beers in him, he's like, he'll give you his kidney. He's that kind of friend.
He would.
If you need it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I got an extra one, right? I mean,
that's why you got two.
Don't ask for his liver, though.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs that.
He may need a new liver at some point, but that's all right.
Funny story about my
liver.
So
he's been making all these friends.
I came back from Ireland after like 4 weeks of just great drinking. I mean, like 4 hard weeks. And Lauren's like, oh man, you should go get your blood work. It's your health checkup time. And I'm like, sure. I'm like stressed out about my liver numbers, and they were flying super great good numbers. Whew. Thank you.
Or you know what,
so lucky.
the Irish, I mean, and I know you're not Irish, but the Irish have like mutated bodies for alcohol. Like those people can freaking put down beer. Like it's crazy. Do not try to go like beer for beer with Irish people. They will like drown you.
My friend right here, Michelle, she is Irish, and she.
Oh, so she knows. She's one of those mutated people.
Yeah.
Clearly. I can't go round for round. Look at her background. Like her background is phenomenal. She's got like Centauri whiskey. She has some Four Roses. I mean, I know this bar very personally because it's a fantastic bar. She has like Green Spot and Glenlivet. All the distilleries have made it into that bar if they're any good. If they're any. So that's gonna lead me to my next question. Michelle, like, what do you actually do with your job?
That's a fair question. I mean, truly, some people think that I drink for a living, and in reality, I do quite a bit of drinking for a living. But it's all part of the necessity of the job. So, as the executive director, I report to a board of directors, obviously, and they are representatives from different breweries in the state of Wyoming, and they give me directives and objectives. But the main point of why we exist is legislative advocacy. So that's our number one goal. We're involved heavily in legislation at the state level and to a smaller extent at the federal level as well. Before COVID, we used to travel to DC once a year and talk to our congressional delegation for Wyoming. During COVID, we talked to them over the phone, but we advocate heavily for brewers' rights all over the country, but especially in the state. So I spend a lot of time talking to lobbyists and other agencies and legislators about Wyoming brewery rights and regulatory issues. And then I spent a lot of time talking to breweries about how to interpret the regulations in statute in Wyoming, because it can be pretty sticky. Although I will say in Wyoming, it's pretty friendly for breweries all around. We're very lucky here. Places like California, Illinois, Montana are a lot harder than Wyoming. So when I'm not doing legislative stuff, I'm working on promotion, I'm running education, I'm building events, and just kind of generally being a liaison and a resource to all the breweries in Wyoming. I also do occasionally breweries will ask me to evaluate their beers to give them some quality notes.
Beer taster, there we go.
There's where the drinking comes in. And you also, like, beer is a great lubricant for relationships, right? If you have a couple beers with somebody, we talked about this before, you know who they are. It is a truth serum, and it's really important to sit down and have a few beers with the guys that you're trying to build a relationship with and a rapport with, because it's a phenomenal foundation. So I do that a lot. I travel around the state quite a bit, talking to breweries face to face. You can't beat the face to face interaction when you're working in a job like this. It's a ton of relationship building, a lot of foundation building for the industry and for the state, and a lot of like looking for how we can build better relationships with our with our like sister and brother agencies. So we're the Wyoming Craft Brewers Guild. There's also Wyoming State Liquor Association, which is the same type of association that represents retailers and bar owners. Then you've got like the Restaurant Association and the Wyoming Office of Tourism. You want to have kind of a working productive relationship with all of those agencies. And that takes a lot of time.
So I have a question about legislation. What do we need to do to be able to open up the state lines so that we can get Blacktooth beer down here in Southern California? Because we talked to
great question.
Yeah, we talked to the owner of Blacktooth a couple weeks ago, and we asked how we get the beer, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, we can't ship to you guys." So, I mean, what picket signs do we have to hold out in Washington to like open up the state lines for beer?
Tell ya, I hope you won't hate me for saying this, but I'm pretty sure the reason you don't have Blacktooth in California is not because of the border. I'm pretty sure it's because of Blacktooth.
Oh, okay.
The reality of it is the distribution doesn't pay for a company of Blacktooth size to distribute all the way to California. You have kind of some unique distribution laws too, and it's really expensive for us to get beer that far out. So
okay, so we need to figure out how to get that cheaper then.
Yeah, or you might just want to, pick it in front of Blacktooth. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that's a great.
We're coming. Me and Drew are coming this summer.
Right. I'll meet you there.
I mean, I have a question for you now, Michelle. How does it feel to be royalty? I mean, you walk into breweries all over the US, mainly Wyoming, that really know you, but you could walk in and you say, "Hey, I'm a Cicerone." What, hold on, what's a Cicerone? Like, can we explain it to the simpletons or the regular people of the world that just walk around and like beer and like our
To the
podcast?
Drews of the world.
That's very loving. Okay, a Cicerone is the beer equivalent of a sommelier. So there are 4 levels of Cicerone. There's the first level is called the certified beer server, and a lot of your bartenders in breweries are certified beer servers. They have a really basic working knowledge of beer styles, beer service, quality, vocabulary about how to evaluate and describe beer. And then level 2 is, I'm a level 2. Level 2 is just called a certified Cicerone. And then you've got 3 is advanced and 4 is master. The distance between the levels is enormous. I don't know how many level 1s there are in the world, but it's definitely over 100,000. And then level 2, last time I looked, and it's probably changed since then, there was like 4,000 maybe. Level 3, there's like 130 in the whole world. Level 4, there's 17 master Cicerones in the entire world. So basically my Cicerone certification, what I had to study in order to get it was I had to learn specifications for 80 something beer styles, and I had to learn the kind of the standard examples for those beer styles, sensory evaluation, how to pick off chemical off flavors and chemical compounds out of beer that you don't want, like skunk. That's always a fun one. And you never want skunk.
Nobody likes skunk beer.
Nobody likes skunk beer. And then of course, all the production elements, the science and chemistry behind it. So, but that was a number of years ago that I passed that exam. So don't ask me any hard questions because it's been a long time since I studied it.
So who certifies you to go up to the next level? Is there like some kind of board or something?
Yeah, you have to take the exam. You go take the exam in person. At levels 2, 3, and 4, you got to take it in person. Level 2, it takes about 8 hours to take it. I flew to Vancouver. They offer it in different places around the country, or really the world. During COVID, it's like kind of half online and half whatever. But I went to Vancouver because it was actually the cheapest flight from where I live. I know, George. I know. Welcome to Wyoming.
How was Vancouver?
Because you can fly Alaskan Airlines out of Billings. Oh, Vancouver's amazing. I've been there before. It's incredible. Great beer, great people, good food.
Now I'm jealous. I usually am not jealous about you because we usually hang out. We're at the same level of like starting to get to the, I'm probably like 3 drinks ahead of you with my 1 drink, but it's all right. We're about the same. We're enjoying ourselves. We're having a great time. My next question to you though, like being part of this guild, being like I said, how does it feel to be royalty? You get to go to these different breweries and you get to go all over and you can just walk in there. You're like, hey, I'm the Cicerone. Like, hey, like I want to get to know you. Like, let me talk to your brewers. Let me talk to your owners. And I want to build a relationship because Wyoming, we're neighbors.
Do you get bribed all the time, like with free beer? Like you just walk in, they just hand you a beer, taste it, tell me what I need to change.
I do get a lot of free beer. I will not lie to you guys. I drink a lot of free beer. That is the primary perk of this job. But
I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why George has a job at Blacktooth, though. He doesn't even care about the money. He just wants the free beer. So that's why you're a legend and you're his idol, because you get more free beer than he does, which is very difficult to do.
I mean, no doubt, because everybody loves George. Who doesn't want to give George free beer? I'd give it to him if I had it, but I don't have it because I've been drinking it all.
Hey, that's real love right there. That's a friend right there. That's a real friend.
That's a friend.
So this Wyoming guild, you know what? I'm going to actually let Drew ask a question. He is dying to ask a question.
I am dying to ask a question. You're right. Michelle, yes. I wanted to ask what your experience has been like with health inspectors, because a couple of weeks ago we brought up on the podcast a brewery up in LA, and a health inspector purposely failed them because she had some sort of longstanding beef with them, some weird vendetta, and it was something to do with the COVID restrictions and how you have to have food sales at a brewery, and she caught them not selling the food. Have you had any sketchy run-ins with health inspectors, or have they usually been pretty good to you?
That's a great question. I don't deal with the health inspections in my position. will connect breweries to health inspectors and resources on how to handle their inspections. But I've heard a lot of horror stories. I haven't heard that many horror stories in Wyoming, but when I was living in California, I heard a lot of horror stories. So not to dog on the California Health Department, but they have never made it easy for breweries in California. Every single brewery I worked with in LA was like, they dreaded that moment. I
don't think anything's easy in California except for like driving around because it's 80 degrees in February. You know, I know you guys don't know what that's like up there in Wyoming, but
yeah, we don't know. Thanks for rubbing it in.
But everything else is difficult. Everything else is difficult in California.
Oh,
it's a fact. It's a fact.
Talk about vehicles. I'm gonna put a little bummer real quick. Drew, you thought your story was bad the other day when you had a flat tire. Today I got to the gas station, which I have to do every day with my commute, and my back left tire was completely flat. And I like pumped it up. My brothers hooked me up with like this portable inflatable pump, pumped it up to like 25 psi. I went to my dealership and I'm like, hopefully they're open. Hopefully they're open. Close. I go down to Firestone Tires. Hopefully they're open. Hey bro, you guys gotta need like I can leave the car here. Could we like, like get some tires replaced? And he's like, I don't have anything in your size unless you want winter tires. Everything's gonna be a 5-day turnaround on this vehicle. And I'm like, all right, is there anybody else that has tires? He's like, go check out this other tire place called Plains Tires. So if you ever see Plains Tires, definitely go check them out. Like they are hustlers, like in the right way. Like they got tires ready to go. They got like friendly customer service. They were closing at 6. I showed up at 5:58. They changed my tire for free to my donut. And they're like, look, you give me a better price, I'll compete. And I'm like, I want my money to go to you. Because you guys, like the guys at Firestone was like, I got to charge you $10 if you want me to swap out your tire. Or you can go two blocks down to Plains Tires. The only reason now that it's worse than yours, Drew, I have an all-wheel drive vehicle and the tires are starting to go. I have to replace all 4 tires. That's about $800 minimum to get a decent set of tires. And so
My question is, why didn't you just get the winter tires? Because it's winter like 9 months out of the year there.
Jason, you don't understand. The winter tires wear down really quick because they're soft tires. Okay. And here's the issue.
I don't understand because I don't know what winter is. We don't have it here.
Winter's about over.
Keep explaining. Go.
Winter's about over over here. Is that like an inflatable balloon? What is that? Come on, Drew. Can I explain the story here?
I'm in a first grade teacher's at-home classroom, so that's what we're dealing with.
At least he's not in the closet. I'm in the closet right now because I need the Ethernet. I need the Ethernet for better internet connection. So I'm in the closet.
That's awesome.
No, so here's what happened. I ran over something that looked like an aluminum lace potato chips, and I think I know what it was. I think it was a broken glass mirror, and I ran over it, and it got the inside sidewall of my vehicle, my left back tire. Not replaceable, not fixable, you can't put a plug in. So I'm looking at about $800. I'm on the donut. I'm gonna be driving my wife's car for the next week. But here's my question to you.
It's a little early for this, but you hate to see it, George.
Absolutely hate to see it. That's our final segment, Michelle.
Okay.
And here's the thing, like being part of this Wyoming guild, the Brewers Guild, like you got big plans coming up. Like, what's the long game? Like, what is the long game of being there? Is this a life career choice? Or is this like one couple months, maybe a year, I'm gone?
That's a pretty big question. And would be very revealing if I were to tell you exactly what my long-term plan was.
Well, what's the long-term plan for the guild?
That I can tell you. So the guild has only been around we're going on 6 years at this point. It was actually founded by Tim Barnes, who you all talked to a few weeks ago, right?
Tim
Barnes founded it in 2015. And initially, just like every other guild, it was founded in response to some legislative challenges. The point of the guild is to bring breweries together to unify that voice, to create a stronger voice. So the long-term goal is always going to be about creating a stronger voice for the industry, especially an industry that's always outnumbered by the big guys, by the macro producers, by the wholesalers, even to some extent by the retailers. Our voice is just naturally smaller because there's fewer of us. That doesn't mean we can't work with the retailers. Retailers so wholesalers, retailers, and macros, we want, it's in our best interest to have those good relationships. But the fact of the matter is they're just more powerful. They've just been doing it longer, and there's just simply more of them. So as we move forward, the goal is always to keep strengthening that voice and strengthening those partnerships so that when damaging legislation comes up, we can actually stand against it. We actually have the power to stand against it. Or when our breweries need something to grow or to change, we actually have the power to ask for it. That's the long-term goal. And that's a broad long-term goal, right? I can tell you we'd like to have 100% of breweries in the guild, and we'd like to have this many associate members and that much capital. But, the goal has to be a little bit esoteric at this point. And the foundation is we need it to be sustainable enough to keep going. We need to make enough money to keep paying an executive director and keep putting on cool events and providing education and providing lobbying activities. But that number is a little flexible, how much we have to make. It's a nonprofit. So if anybody's ever experienced nonprofit before, you've got to work your butt off for $5. It's pretty serious.
But if you do work hard enough, it can be rewarding though.
Absolutely, 100%. And one of the best things about nonprofit is it's rewarding in non-monetary ways. I mean, just seeing people's dreams come true by building this little tiny business out of nothing and passing it on to their kids or their best friends or partnering with their best friends and putting it in their hometown after living far away, and also just bringing something to the community that means something to people. It's super important.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Drew, are you? I see you. Are you salivating with another question right there?
Salivating. Well, yeah, I guess I just want to know about your progress with your mission and how you guys have done since you've started and what you see in the future for that specifically.
Yeah, great question. So when I started, we had 5 breweries in the state were members of the guild, and all 5 of them were on the board of directors. There was really no presence in the rest of the state. And there were at that time 20 or 25 breweries in the state. We now have 35 breweries in the state. And of those, we have 21 members. So we've built a lot of membership. We're up at like 56% or something like that. We're aiming for 75, which is the benchmark for the country. And we had no associate member program. The associate members are like industry partners. They're like malt and hop suppliers, insurance companies, attorneys, consultants, that kind of stuff. We didn't even have an associate program when I started. We built that. We now have, I think, 15 associate members. And this year we're launching an enthusiast membership program for home brewers and people who just want to support the industry. $50 a year, you can be part of the guild. And we also had never, well, that's not true. They had 1 or 2 events as a guild. They'd done a couple collaboration brew days where they like got together, the 5 of them, and brewed a beer and, for the guild. But they hadn't done like a festival before. They hadn't had any educational webinars or any educational pieces. They just didn't have time. They were a group of volunteers who were all small business owners. They didn't have the bandwidth to put that kind of energy into the organization, but they did do some really cool lobbying. And by they, I mainly mean Tim Barnes. He did a ton for the industry. He made a lot of inroads when it comes to like breweries having an easier path to success. So we just kind of picked up that work where he left off, and he's been consulting. He's still on the board. He's not the president anymore because he's like a little tired of being on top, but he's on the board and he still consults on it. But we're really moving in a great direction. We've done events, and we had a virtual conference last year and a virtual festival. Obviously, they were both supposed to be in person, but it was better than nothing. And this year, obviously, we're hoping to do much bigger, badder things.
And by that bigger, badder thing, can we talk about this event coming up in October where Drew and Jason need to be at?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see you guys there. Yeah. So in October, we're planning our annual Brewers Conference for Wyoming. And typically a lot of states do this. It's done kind of different in every state. Here, we're looking at probably a 2-day educational conference. We're going to bring in industry professionals and speakers from across the region. And then we're also going to have like networking events, happy hours, like cool stuff. There's a possibility that will happen the same weekend as a film festival in the state of Wyoming. And we may actually be entering some cool shorts into the festival that feature our brewers and distilleries. So yeah, it's all very, very movable at the moment because we don't know what the regulations are going to look like, and we don't know how many people we can gather on an inside space. But I'm pretty confident that by October we can pull it off. It should be a really great time.
Let's all hope
Well,
so.
save us a seat for sure. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so excited. I mean, I've been talking to you about this, Michelle, and it seems like it's only going to get better and more exciting, and it's going to be just like the best event of the year. I'm already like booked up for it. I'll be there. I'll help you out. And now you're gonna hold me to it. You said you're helping me out.
You know I will. I won't forget that.
But could you show us your shirt? Because what is like something that you could buy to help out the guild without having to do too much?
I could show you my shirt, but you can't buy this shirt.
Oh,
you
my shirt. Do you want my shirt?
No,
you can't buy this shirt. You have to earn it.
Sorry, yeah, this one is just for me. I printed out a whole bunch of a whole wardrobe just for me because I have to wear that brand all the time. But we do have t-shirts, tank tops, hats, hoodies, all sorts of stuff. We have an online store that is run by a vendor who's an associate member out of Idaho. So it's a regional, we try to work with regional partners as much as we can. But we have all sorts of cool stuff on that website.
We'll take a couple of screenshots and put it onto our Instagram. It's going to be great.
Cool.
I know there's people listening and they don't understand how much work it is to run a nonprofit. I used to work at one. I got so much respect for that. And I think I'm going to let the guys go around and maybe have one final question for you, unless you want to hang out for a little bit longer. Drew, do you have any more questions?
More of just a comment. I just wanted Jason and George will be the first to tell you that I'm not the most sophisticated beer drinker out there. I started a lot with those big macro companies that you were talking about, and they did start to get old. And Jason and George introduced me to a ton of new breweries, and some of the best beers that I've had are just hole in the wall mom and pop shops. And I love what you're doing with your nonprofit. And I got to say, man, like I'm excited to go over there and check it out. Check out the festival.
Awesome. I'm excited. Well, yeah, the other thing I didn't mention is that educational conference is 2 days. The third day is a collaboration festival between brewers and distilleries. And I have this kind of fantasy of hiring a bunch of circus performers and it being this really cool event. So let's all hope my fantasy comes true.
That's where George can help you out. Because that guy's a clown.
Is he a contortionist? Oh, even better.
I could spin a basketball on my finger if you.
Perfect, you're hired.
That's it. That's the qualification.
No, but we appreciate you joining us here on our podcast and giving us some content to talk about. Sometimes we struggle to find new topics to keep people engaged. So you really came on and helped us out a lot. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right on. My pleasure, you guys. Thanks for having me. It was super fun. Oh yes, George, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Before I let you go, because I know you're hungry and you haven't had dinner yet.
I am hungry, and I feel like a cocktail. Like I was whiskey. I'm looking at all this whiskey behind me. Like I should have a cocktail.
Okay, well that's what I was gonna ask you. Okay. What's the next best thing to a beer? Like if there's something tangible that you can drink, what is the next best thing for you?
My go-to non-beer is gin. I'm a huge fan of gin, and I like just a straight. You could call it a martini, but I just like it to be shaken and strained into a glass. No vermouth, no misting, nothing. Just if it's good gin, it stands on its own 2 feet. But my favorite cocktail of all time is the Negroni, which is a gin-based cocktail. Gin, equal parts gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. Fabulous cocktail, kind of an old classic.
I'm learning all kinds of stuff right now.
I mean,
Michelle, can I ask you one quick last question before you go? Because the guys and I have had a little bit of a debate during the Super Bowl. What food is best paired with the beer?
Depends on the beer. Depends on the beer.
So, any universal foods out there that that can go with kind of anything, or so much writing on this, Michelle?
That is a tough question. So you're asking me what food in the universe goes with every single beer in the universe? That's what you're asking.
What
That's
food
really hard.
Can go if you had to pick one?
And I think you'd have to choose a food with a lot of different elements to it, like pizza or a burger, because it has to have a lot of different flavors for different styles to come out. That's my take. If you give me a specific beer, I can
take it.
I don't know if you're really doing Well, I do pizza and marshmallow milk stout. It's probably a weird combination, but when Garage was doing, their make your own pizza, and then they had the marshmallow milk stout, and it sounds like a weird combination, but it actually did work.
I mean, it depends on the pizza, right? And now the question is flipped. What pizza goes with every beer in the world, right?
Cheese.
Fair.
Basic.
That's fair.
Basic.
Okay.
Goes with everything.
Okay, before you do your final statement, because I think you had your final statement ready, Michelle. Where can we find you? What website? What's your Instagram handle? What is it that we need to look up so we can get you?
Okay, the guild is the website is wyocraftbrewersguild.com.
Can you
And
spell
then
that out? Because that confuses some people. Some people think Wyoming isn't real.
That's true. Well, they should definitely check it out. They can come visit.
It is beautiful, but you can drive for like 12 hours and see nothing but cows. Like, we did it.
And mountains. We have a lot of mountains here. People don't know that. A lot of mountains. Okay, WYO Craft Brewers Guild.com. Okay, I think people can do that. I'm pretty sure your listeners can handle that.
Perfect. Thank you.
If they can't make it to that, then they're, you probably don't want them there. So
they may never find us. Yeah, and that's okay. The world takes all kinds.
We'll take them all. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Michelle. Is there any final questions that you had for us, or any statements? We really appreciate you being on here. I love you to death, girl. I'll hang out with you real soon. I know you're hanging out with my wifey today, and it was awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Very happy you guys moved here. It's been a great time.
all right, thank you, Michelle. We appreciate
Thanks
it.
you guys so much. Have a great rest of your podcast, and drink more beer.
All right, we'll see you in October.
See you in October. Yep.
Cheers.
See you this
Cheers.
weekend.
Cheers.
All right, guys. Great segment with Michelle right there. But
Pleasure.
I think I'm ready to talk some sports. I don't know about you guys.
Yahoo!
All right. So our next topic up on the docket is the off-season NFL moves so far, which there have been many, some controversial, some kind of expected. But there's a few that I just want to run off the top of my head. And then I don't know if you guys want to add any other ones in there. And then we could just, comment on what we think was a good move, what we think is a little bit questionable. So obviously the first one, the news this week, JJ Watt selects the Cardinals for his next destination. We also got Carson Wentz going to the Colts. That's a big move right there. The Colts moving off of Phillip Rivers, trying to find their next quarterback of the future. Went all in on Carson Wentz. We'll see if it works out. Didn't work in Philly, but I think maybe a change of scenery was good for Wentz. We got Alex Smith out in Washington. Not really a surprise, but something that we might want to comment on a little bit, since he was probably comeback player of the year, and they should just name the award after him. Big news as Rams fans, the Stafford Goff trade. We'll get into that a little bit. And then also we got Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, quarterback drama. So of those, what are your guys' thoughts, as well as do you have any other ones that you want to add that you think we should discuss?
I'm gonna go.
Obviously, dang it. Go ahead, George. Took too long of a pause, bud.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the winners, automatically big winners, is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. 100% clear. The absolute losers not making the playoffs, the Cardinals. And the people that are just gonna just barely go on with their lives gonna be the Colts. I'm sorry, Colts. You had a team destined for success, and you could have brought in somebody that had a good mental help, and you could have got Alex Smith, but no, you got Carson Wentz, and you spent all kinds of money for this guy that's overpriced. And I'm just gonna tell you that 100%. So Rams are the winners, Cardinals still losers. And Alex Smith, I'm sorry for you, but go ahead, Drew.
George, you had me up until the Colts take, man. Phillip Rivers couldn't throw a ball past 30 yards. You got Carson Wentz, guy that might maybe a little bit injury prone, but at least he can get the ball out of his hands. You got an elite offensive line and a really good defense as well. Jonathan Taylor coming up as one of the best young running backs in the game. I think the Colts are off to a real good start. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but you have to overpay for a quarterback. Unless they're making a move for Deshaun Watson, which I don't know was very likely. But let's just talk about the NFC West again, man. This division gets better and better, adding Matthew Stafford and JJ Watt to the Cardinals. Honestly, as a Rams fan, I'm hoping Russell Wilson gets the heck out of there, maybe goes to the Bears or maybe even the AFC, because this NFC West it's too challenging for the Rams.
It is the gauntlet now, because we know the 49ers are not going to be as bad as they were last year. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, and they got all those weapons that were just there. I don't think there is a team in the NFL that was hit as hard by injuries as the 49ers. It seemed like at one point they basically were playing like their practice squad was like the entire team,
You can't
because they
write
had
them
so
off.
many injuries. So they're going to be bouncing back. The Cardinals, I don't know if JJ Watt really makes that big of a difference to them. I don't know if that's really what their weakness was. I don't really know what their weakness is, to be honest. Like, they seem pretty solid. They're definitely solid at wide receiver. They got D-Hop. They got Kyler Murray at quarterback. Decent running backs. There's no hole there. And their defense was solid. I thought they were able to get some pass rush, but you had an elite player, maybe the best, a lot of people would argue between Aaron Donald and JJ Watt, best defensive players in the league. You had a guy of that caliber, and he may not just change what's going on the field, but we know JJ Watt's a pretty good leader. And so maybe that's what they need to get him over the top, is his leadership abilities.
Let me get my take on this NFC West real quick. You guys all got a chance.
Please.
49ers were called the 39ers last year. That's my team. I'm 100% bought in. I'm 100% 49ers faithful. This is a travesty what happened to them last year. Like you said, playing with the practice squad, Berthard, they got all these random little quarterbacks coming in and still competing. Jimmy G should be on his way out. I am sorry. I just need somebody that knows how to protect their body and stay healthy the whole season. This whole golf situation with the Rams, I liked golf, but he was never going to be a long-term superstar dynasty quarterback. He was never going to be that. He wasn't that in college. He had to wait a couple years, a couple months to get properly trained in the pro system. This guy was never destined for success. Was he good? Absolutely. Do they have some of the best players on defense? Absolutely. Love me some defense on that Rams team. Cardinals, they just don't have a winning mentality. If JJ Watt comes in there and is like, hey, I'm the man, Kyler Murray, you don't have to step up and do much. I'm going to get you that ball more times than not. You're in good shape, Kyler. I got your back. And last thing, Seahawks, just a mess. 100% terrible. I can see why Russell Wilson doesn't want to see JJ Watt, Aaron Donald, and the whole 49er defense. They don't want to see nobody. He wants to stay home. He wants to be protected. Go ahead, Drew. You got something to say.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are looking at it the completely wrong way. They need to be looking at retaining Russell Wilson and maybe taking a look at Pete Carroll that needs to go. One of the oldest coaches in the league, and he might be he wasn't really closing games out at the end of the year, and their team completely fell off. They were one of the best teams in the league first half of the year and fell off. Same thing with the Cardinals. I think they couldn't close out end of games, and I think Cliff Kingsbury had a lot to do with that. People were talking him up a lot, and some experts are saying that his play calling just isn't really there.
So first off, two things, okay? First off, the one that I did not mention that might be the biggest move, and it wasn't even a move, but guys staying put, that might make the biggest difference this coming year. David Johnson staying with Houston. You know how big of a trade that D-Hop was for David Johnson. I mean, it was like big news in Houston. We got David Johnson. We gave up D-Hop. No problem. He's staying 1 year, $5 million. What do you guys think? That's number one. Number two, what is going on with Deshaun Watson? He will not even respond to the Texans. And do you blame him? One, and two, do you think there is a fix for that? Because if you look all the way back to the David Johnson, that's why they're connected. Because when you look all the way back to the David Johnson trade, that was the first domino in a series of dominoes that have fallen to basically blow up the organization of Houston. Like, they were on the verge of going to the Super Bowl, and now they are literally a dumpster fire.
I'm going to tell you right now, Andre Johnson, who is an absolute legend. You see the highlight reels, this guy is a man. He was telling our guy Deshaun Watson, you know, Deshaun's a beast. I mean, this guy's a legit player. Played great ball in college. I mean, Deshaun is an absolute animal. He said the Houston organization hasn't changed since the Andre Johnson era. Don't stay there. Deshaun's like, this is a man among men, a boys, whatever you want to say. And good old Andre's telling me, don't trust the Houston Texans. He's not going to trust them. And he's right not to trust them. What does he gain by being in an organization that's on the downhill? And
it's like a sinking ship, and he's the captain, and the captain's supposed to go down with the ship, and he's like, nah, give me the lifeboat. I'm out.
And Johnson, the running back, right? This guy's an animal. Love to see him play because when he's 100% healthy, he's a game breaker, dude. He does whatever he wants. Go ahead, Drew. I know you got something big to say here.
Well, Houston's going to Houston, and it all stems from the Astros just because they've tainted the whole city of Houston. I'll never let that go. But of course, they're going to sign David Johnson to $5 million. And of course, they're going to let Deshaun Watson walk. They've pissed him off so much that he doesn't even want to take their money. He'd rather go elsewhere. So, I mean, they just have a terrible organization, and the fish rots from the head down. So it's probably starts with the owner down to the GM and so on. So, I mean, you can't fix stupid, and Houston is proven again and again to be stupid.
The NFL is just the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, we're 7 months away from the next season, and we're still talking NFL. So
it's not going to stop either.
It's not going to stop. There's going to be more moves that are going to be game changers, and we'll cover them as they come up. But we want to move on to our next topic a little bit. 8-Bit Brewing in Murrieta, California. Have you guys had a chance to stop by 8-Bit?
I went with you, Jason. I went a couple of months ago, or maybe even years ago, and that place had a great vibe. It was more like a random spot, but that's not what a lot of these breweries are like. They're not like in the middle of the mall. This brewery was kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and it was at the corner spot of this parking lot, and it was fantastic. I think the beers were pretty tasty. Go ahead, Drew. You said you've been there?
Yeah, we went there, had a great time. They have a nice little fire pit outside, I believe, and they had some nice blankets for everyone to pass around. I'm sure in COVID time, that's probably not the best idea, but maybe they have reusable blankets now. I remember trying their hazy anti-hero, and that was delicious at about an 8% or so. And yeah, we had a great time. They have a lot of nice board games there as well. Just a cool little, industrial looking building with just another hole in the wall that you wouldn't really think about is there. And then you walk in and you have great brews left and right.
So they're known for their beer and their food. Both of them are fantastic. So if you're ever in the Temecula Valley area, you have to check out 8-Bit. It's one of the best breweries in the area. But I think what makes them unique is the name of their beer and the whole theme of it. So yeah, it's very much centered around movies, video games, television, movies. Like there's no question when you walk into this place that they're all in on their theme, and I give them props for that. And they have some of the coolest beer names that you could ever think of, and one of them that I thought was really cool is their Hefeweizen is Thomas Hefferson, which I thought great play on words there. I'm always good for I always like some good puns, especially when it comes to beer names. Another one is Mario Tart. So they have a kettle sour, and it's actually a series. So the Mario Tart, they have multiple in their series. They're usually heavy hitter beers, which I know Drew appreciates. Maybe not so much the sweetness of a sour, but when you're getting up into 8-9% ABVs, you got Drew on board regardless. And it's just a really cool, like Thromping at the Bit. I'm pretty sure that's
chomping at the bit.
Yeah, chomping at the bit. Just like I think it's a ode to Mario, early Mario with the chomper, and he was trying to eat Mario. You know what I'm talking about. They got Red Pool, their red ale, so play on Deadpool there. Unibrown. I mean, is there a brewery with better names for their brews than this place?
My favorite, Jason, I found online. It wasn't even on the menu. Grand Tart Mango, a play on Grand Theft Auto. They have the coolest looking beer can, and it's a sour double IPA, 8%.
that's another thing. If you really enjoy, that kind of theme, if you enjoy video games and stuff, all of their beers not only have good names, but they have great artwork on their cans. It's amazing. Like the one Drew, you can't see it if you're just listening to the podcast, but he showed us their beer can, and it literally looks like the cover of a Grand Theft Auto game. I mean, so I love when places go all in like that and super creative. Whoever their creative team is doing a great job. If you're in the Temecula area, go ahead and check it out. George, do you have anything last words you want to say about 8-Bit before we move on?
I remember it was a pit stop and a very long day, and I think we had international calls to Ireland that day. Like, it was a phenomenal experience. We went from Stone to 8-Bit, and then we went axe throwing. I mean, if you're in the Temecula area, you need to go and try this place out. What is the other place that we stopped at? They had the sours and they had the axe throwing.
Wild Barrel Brewing.
Within a reasonable distance, you just have to have one designated driver. I think our buddy Tarbo, he's a kind of a legend in his own right, maybe in his own mind. But Tarbo was driving this long van that fitted about 15 dudes, and it was a great bachelor party. I would do it again any day of the year. Absolutely loved it. Great vibe.
If you're gonna bring up that bachelor party, we might have to rewind and tell the whole story of why we were on that bachelor party. I believe it was the second version of that bachelor party. You want to tell that story, George?
I don't even remember, dude. I'm gonna be honest. That's how good of a party it was.
That's how you know it was good.
Well, George doesn't remember because he was asleep for half of it because he was almost passed out. But we had one of the most miserable bachelor parties ever for our friend Brian. We went up to Pismo Beach in the middle of, I think it was June or July. So you'd think it would be beautiful weather on the beach. No, not in Pismo Beach. It was like 55 degrees, 80-mile-an-hour winds. We're trying to park this trailer on the middle of the beach on the sand. And in order to make we were going in a little like a fifth wheel, what do they call it? Toy hauler. And we were bringing Brian's like razors, and in order to make it easier to park, we unloaded the razor, and one of our friends, Austin, took the razor out into the dunes in Pismo and rolled it before we were even done parking with our campsite. And after that, Brian was just done. Like, he was like, no, this is the worst bachelor party ever. We were supposed to stay for 2 more days. The next morning we packed it all up, we went home, and so we did a redo on the bachelor party, and we took Brian to 8-Bit, and it was a lot better time at that time.
Let me add on a little bit about the Austin situation now. This guy knows one way and one way only. He has the need for speed. I mean, he's a mechanic. He's over there playing around with airplanes all day. He thinks he can just drive as fast as he can. He's okay. But when you're on the dunes, you just can't see the drops unless you have 20/20 vision like me. And Austin has glasses. I don't even think he was wearing his glasses. This guy's a wild man. I mean, this guy got so jacked up, he put his hand out when the razor flipped over. His hand was all gashed up. He's all like, "I've had worse. I don't even need to tape it."
George, just real quick, George, what happens at night? What does your vision do?
On night vision.
Nighthawk.
Better vision.
Nighthawk vision.
Hey. I'm an alumni of the Royal Valley High School. Home of the Hawk. All right. I got that Nighthawk vision, dude, for reals. So here's the last thing about that party, the terrible party. We go and my boy Brian is miserable. He's about to just want to just shut himself down in a little corner and not talk to anybody for a week. So my job is very important here. I know my role as a team player on the squad. I know that when my boys aren't feeling good, I'm gonna pump them up. So I'm over there. I got my grill. I've got the charcoal going. I make all these wings. They come out pretty tasty. All the boys are all getting excited. And as the weather changes and the water and the tide is rising and our trailer's about to get covered in all this water, I'm like, all right, boys, let's get inside. I got the cooler right here. Every 30 seconds, I gave somebody a beer. Like, that was it. And it was not like heavy hitters. It was like a Michelob Ultra or Corona or whatever it was.
He was handing out beers like it was candy on Halloween.
And if you have been in this terrible situation where you need to pump your friends up, there's 3 games that I highly recommend. The first one is called Categories. I'm gonna be quick, man. Categories. One person goes off.
Categories.
They come up with a category, and it keeps going on and on and on. And you get 5 seconds to say your category. And if it's a repeat or you mess up, You got to take a drink. The second game, letters, real similar. Name a word that starts with the letter. Boom. We're talking about B's. It's bat, boy, basketball. When somebody
I
messes
get it.
up, boom, they're drinking. And the last one, but not least, it was this riddle. And the riddle is so good that I passed out, woke up 2 hours later, and answered it. He died of asphyxiation. And I was on the couch. It was like I was in the wrong chair. I was like, I don't even remember getting to this chair. Whatever, who cares? So, Jason, go ahead and take us on to the next spot because I don't know what the heck's going on here.
So in honor of 8-bit and all the video game beer names and all that thing, and their whole vibe is just being a video. I like their logo is actually a Pac-Man logo. Like when you look at it, it's a little Pac-Man guy. So that's their mascot. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is your favorite sports video game? So it kind of relates back to the brewery. I'll go first really quick. NCAA football. They ripped my heart out when they got rid of it. There's rumors they're bringing it back, but I'll save it for my hate to see it. But NCAA football, that is the greatest sports video game they have ever created. So one of you guys can go ahead and take over next.
I have a love-hate relationship with this video game. I think I hate it more than I love it, but I've played so many hours, and it's called FIFA. It's the worst game of all time. And every year they come out with a new one, and even worse. And then they come out with a new one, and I still buy it. I'm in an abusive relationship where I keep getting punched in the face and punched and punched. And well, like I think this is the last year I might buy FIFA.
No, that's not true. Because every single year, George tells me this is the last year I'm buying FIFA. I cannot stand it. They rig it. It's rigged. Like they just choose who they want to win. That person's gonna win regardless. Like there's nothing you can do. He says, "This is it. I'm done." And then every single October when it's about to come out, he says, "Hey, you want to buy the pre-order?" And like he's already ready to buy it before it even comes out. So I know that is for a fact a lie. George is going to buy every single year of FIFA until he dies.
Meister?
Well, you can count on me never buying FIFA, but when I was a young lad, my brother shut the trunk on my finger of the car, and I had to go to the hospital to get my finger drained for the swelling. And my mom said, "You can get any game you want." And so we go to Target, and I see Marshall Falk's mug on the 2003 Madden. I said, "I want that one." And I got it, and I never looked back since. I've gotten every Madden up until probably 2017 when I became a man and I stopped playing video games. But I had the greatest time playing Madden, and you get to play online and talk trash to all these other people. I really liked it when they had the Bill Cowher Coach Edition. I rented that and had some fun with that. You get to be the coach. You don't even play the game. But I love creating your own player and making them super buff, like the buffest running back you've ever seen, and then like putting it on the easiest level and then scoring like 80-yard rushing touchdowns on every play. It's fun and it's super competitive. You can go on to all Madden mode and play against the best of the best, but I enjoy it because I'm terrible at video games and I could just put it on rookie mode and I'm certain out of nowhere I'm the best ever.
So talking about Madden, one of my favorite TikTok to watch is when guys go on Madden and they'll go on the practice mode and they'll try to see like how long it will take them to score a touchdown from the 1 yard line, like their own 1 yard line, how long it will take them to score a touchdown with each quarterback. So like, of course he starts off easy with like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray and all those guys. And then like the last one, he's got Tom Brady and he's got to score a 99-yard touchdown with Tom Brady running the ball. And it took him like, I think it took him like 187 tries. Like how many times would you guys try to score a 99-yard touchdown with Tom Brady before you gave up?
Probably 3 or 4, or maybe not. Yeah, like George says 0 because it's not even worth it. I'm thinking like Phillip Rivers too. Like, what about that's not going anywhere. Like,
yeah, Phillip Rivers has probably like a 16 speed out of 100. I love the man. He's a gunslinger.
If you're a Madden fan and you have TikTok, go watch these videos. Like you'll seriously be watching that for like 2 hours. Like you'll just get.
Have you guys seen the the best Madden viral video was Greg Jennings. It was a glitch in the game, and he caught the ball, and he had like a broken leg, and he ran for a 60-yard touchdown. And the guy in the background's yelling, "You're carrying the team on your back. You're carrying your team on the back." And he's like has a straight up like hyperextended knee like going up in the air.
I do remember that. That was pretty awesome.
I need to go look this up. Never seen it.
Go look
what
it
do you
up.
got for us,
Yeah,
look
Jason?
it up.
What do you
So
got for us?
hilarious.
Moving on, last segment, probably the best segment of the whole entire show. We do it every single week. You hate to see it. So I know Drew has a very good hate to see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him start off. What do you hate to see this week, Drew?
You hate to see heavyweights on unemployment. It was announced today that both Junior DeSantos and Alistair Overeem were released from their UFC contracts. Now, you may remember Alistair Overeem when he had his upper lip explode by his sucker punch from a fight against Jairzinho Rosenstrike. It looked like he tried to set off fireworks with his mouth, and he failed. It's like a little JPP moment. But I have little stats from both of them. They're 2 of 7 heavyweights to ever reach 20 octagon appearances, and they also rank in the top 5 in heavyweight history for knockouts and knockdowns. So you love to see exploding flesh, but you hate to see 2 legendary fighters drop from their contracts. Hate to see it.
Absolutely.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
You guys
All
gotta
right.
look up that video if you haven't seen it before. His lip was literally looked like
I think I remember.
plastic surgery gone wrong. Yeah.
I think I
I'm good.
remember.
I don't need to see anything like that, man. I'm
All
good.
All right, George.
You would love it, George.
George, hit us with your hate to see it for this week.
I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you with the same thing I hit you every couple weeks. Manchester United against Chelsea this weekend. Manchester United versus Crystal Palace today, Wednesday, and 0-0, 0-0. Can we get some goals? We got we got Bruno Fernandes, we got Pogba, we got Martial, Anthony Martial. What are we doing here? Why are we even playing if we got Mason Greenwood? We got the young English international. It's gonna be good. We can't get one goal. We can't get one goal. Please give me a goal. Come on, Manchester United.
Isn't that like not very uncommon to not score any goals in soccer?
It's more common than not. It's more common. It's more. I mean,
You hate to see 180 minutes of your life go to waste because you didn't see a single thing happen.
You hate to see it.
That's a
Spring
good
match.
That's a great hate to see it, George.
We got there, Jason.
So mine goes right along with my best sports video game of all time. So since I was a kid, I've been playing this game, NCAA football, the pageantry, the traditions, the fight songs. I know every fight song because of this game. I knew every mascot. You could do a test, like every single Division I mascot. You tell me the college, I'll tell you the mascot. That's how into this game I was. And they ripped my heart out when they canceled it. After the 2013, they canceled it. They finally announced this year they're bringing it back. And I told Amanda, I said, this is the greatest thing ever. She goes, what? Like, we got vaccines or, you know what I mean? COVID's about to be over. I said, no, they're bringing back NCAA football, and found out this week that teams are dropping out like flies. So Notre Dame and Northwestern already announced they will not be a part of the NCAA football game until the athletes can get paid. And they're expecting Notre Dame is pretty much a front runner for a lot of other big schools. So if they're not in, a lot of the other big schools will not be in. And what's the point if you don't have any of the big boys in there? So either we need to figure it out and find a way to get these guys paid so we can have a video game, or everyone needs to just stop being, little girls. And sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but we need to figure this thing out so that we can get our NCAA football video game back. So you hate to see. I know
George is offended.
You hate to see the big colleges already dropping out when I don't even think the next game is due out for like 2 years. So it's already not looking good, and it may get canceled before it comes back, and that would be a sad day. So you hate to see it.
I'm so offended I didn't even move.
You didn't even
hate to see it. You hate to see it, big dog. I just want my boy Jason to be happy. So like, I know nobody at the university is listening to this, but Notre Dame, can we get the guys a couple bucks? Nothing too crazy. Come on, nothing lucrative. I mean,
well, apparently apparently it's not Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame wants them to get paid. Like, so they're saying they cannot be used. Like the university cannot be used in the game until the athletes are allowed to get paid.
No, but I mean, I'm all for the athletes. I'm an ex-athlete, Division II cross-country runner, track runner, nothing fancy. But I'm telling you, these guys and girls are working their butts off. Can we give them some stipends? Don't we take care of them? I don't like this whole argument. Hey, they're already getting paid by getting free education. You know what? I don't care. They're working their tails off and risking their lives. They're risking their livelihood. They might not be able to walk because they played a game for you. Sorry, you can't give a couple $1,000. Goodness gracious. You're just so hungry for that money. All these universities. Before I let you go, Jason, and my boy Drew, I'm going to just explain this shirt. For some of you that do not understand, I am a huge fan of the Irish Gaelic sports. So this is the County Antrim shirt right here.
Take it off.
Hey. Those of you that are on the podcast only, you got to check out the YouTube because we're going to get this on the YouTube and it's going to be great. It's only going to get better from here on out. Jason and Drew are pumped up. We can't wait for the next part of our journey here at the Backcourt BS. Where can we, go ahead, Jason. You get the next thing.
All right. So in conclusion, just wrapping up the show here. We had a great time with Michelle. So thank you, George, for getting Michelle on the show. We really appreciated having her on. And if you want to check out all the latest going on with the Backcourt BS podcast, you can check us out on Instagram at Backcourt BS Podcast. And you can see all the latest happenings, all the nearest breweries that the latest breweries that we've been going to. And we'll hopefully George says he can get us some pictures with Michelle and she can promote her business that she's got going on. So as always, guys, great podcast. Enjoy being with you and drinking some beer. And the only thing I could say is have a great night and stay buzzed.
We appreciate you, our 25 and a half listeners. We don't know where the half is coming from, but we love it. Go ahead, Drew.
God bless. Stay buzzed.
Let's go. Woo!
There we go. All right. I think that was good.